what we learn to bow down to, and to see that the soil is good, and to see that the hound dog is good, to know the scent and shake of the earth, the wood shakes of the roof, patina of the gutters, gulfs and clutter of the throat. Surely we survive as much by what rises from below as we do by the great spray of stars, the slow growth of the hickories, shagbark hickories, like old men whose years curl back partially to expose hints of what has been hidden, unsaid. Sugar maples, elms, geese flying slantwise through the throat, each spring, each depth of leaves, piling deeper the season's dead. The I am born equaling the I must leave the body on a Monday at 8. Air thickening, the saliva with which we enunciate a word, phrase, like blue speckled pup, or silk ears dragging the ground, or hound dog beautiful, hound dog my heart. As our bones know the soil slow, weevils, mites, the ant-bitten leaves, refuse of the stars, to shake as if the earth stopped rotating a moment, but our molecules, accustomed to movement, keep going, like explorers out ahead of ourselves, cold of the moon's slow, the roof as a floor, the sky a mouth, and the great good soil, even the shadows it absorbs, and the things we grow, what we learn to bow to, and the hound dog's snout, great and good and nobly stout, taking it all in, all the way down to the ground.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Mikautadze, the Artistic Director of Mikautadze Dance Theatre. Thank you all so much for being here tonight and to share with us Hound-Dog Beautiful poetry and movement. I'm so very grateful to be standing next to George here tonight. The process of working together on this show has been both inspiring and immensely rewarding for me, David, and the dancers. I cannot thank our dancer, Anne Brake, enough for the introduction to George, which took place almost exactly a year ago. Who knew we would be presenting together tonight, and that we would look forward to continuing collaborations, already dreaming about the next one. Thank you, George, for offering your beautiful words for us to dance to. Thank you for your kind spirit and the joy you get out of the little but definitely important details, and for a most encouraging and involved collaborative experience. I would also like to take a moment to thank the sponsors, of Hound-Dog Beautiful Poetry and Movement, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, and in particular, the Institute for Research, Scholarship, and Creative Endeavors, the College of Arts and Sciences, the College of Visual and Performing Arts, the Department of English and Linguistics, and College TV Fort Wayne. We're also thankful to Arts United for allowing us to perform here at the ArtsLab, and to Luke Hollinger for his technical support, and Corey Lee for his lighting design. Thank you to the MDT donors, Dr. Christopher and Kirsten LaSalle, our fans and supporters, and Dean John O'Connell, who have all contributed to Mikautadze Dance Theatre's ability to sustain as a professional dance company in residence. Please join us in the lobby after the show, because we would really love a chance to mingle with you. Enjoy.
Hello, friends. I'm George Kalamaras. I'm equally grateful to be here this evening with Elizabeth. From the moment we met, I could tell by her fine work in person and her generous spirit that this would be a collaboration I would embrace. We have meshed in our thinking in more ways than I can say. Our meeting was fortuitous, recommended through an MDT dancer, Ann Brake, whom I met at Purdue University, Fort Wayne. The idea of this collaboration owes more to Ann than I can say. I've been fortunate to have been working closely for several months now with Elizabeth, her husband, and MDT musical director David, and the incredibly enthusiastic and artful troupe of dancers, Ann, Emily, Freddie, Kelsey, Kynzie, Ren, and Zach. Their openness and welcome have made this project a great joy, one of the most meaningful collaborations with which I've ever been involved. And I am really awed, Elizabeth, by you and the dancers and the entire company, your openness, your generosity, your warmth. And we've worked so well together, and I feel like we have formed these really deep and lasting friendships. So I want to thank you for that especially. For nearly 5 years now, I've been working on a series of books, poems centered around one of my greatest loves, hound dogs. Beagles, blue tick, red bone, and tree and walker hounds, and others. The poems simultaneously consider culture, art, and the complexities of the human psyche. The greatest joy of this collaboration is that my poems no longer feel like my own. And in the true spirit of poetry, they shouldn't. Having seen my work choreographed by Elizabeth and the dancers and then danced back to me has moved me deeply. The poems are no longer mine alone, but among the dance troupe, they are now ours. And that's what poetry should be. Words rise from the public pool of language, and now my poems return to something larger. With this in mind, I'd like to give you one of my favorite quotations about poetry, words by the poet Gary Snyder that I first came to nearly 40 years ago now, and which I hold as sacred, and for many decades have tried to remember these words each day, almost like a mantra. And he says, "As a poet, I hold the most archaic values on earth, the fertility of the soil, the magic of animals, the power vision in solitude, the terrifying initiation and rebirth, the love and ecstasy of the dance, the common work of the tribe." Thank you for being here this evening and being part of this collaboration with us. inscribed into him, into his hymn of her, for Gregory Pardlow. I was born in possum saliva, in a coon hound's thumping of her tail. I was born in swamp water, cypress beards, and cigar smoke. I was born in a pot of boiling tea, in the words gyokuro and oolong, where I placed the placement of particulars of why I was named and how. Woke I woke with bobcat bones, broke and slackened back into the porous sore of more and maybe and most. Mostly born, I came unto the world this time to make things right, to settle the letters of my name, proffer my expertise of blurring the belly burns of the stars. I swore an unexpected vow, then another, then one, three, maybe four more, saying things backwards like ticks grumbling the flesh. I was born with mosquito madness. It wasn't a disease, but gifts whinging through me, through it, when the pronouns mix. Say I was you when I was me, saying something found and lettered and named. Tea was brought, tea was drank, sprinkled on this root and that when I was before I was born. What is your face before your parents were born? The monk quieted into me, slipping through me the swampy dark and saliva spill of the gently cruel animal night. Coonhounds bayed, the moon crawling from kerosene lamps. Tea leaves told me time tears me apart, burns me inside out, life to life, when I am born in the pelvic bones of a sassafras hollow, when the tea leaves rot, dried in the shape of a man eating a poisonous pufferfish, and suggest a world. I was born to be born, each time to test the flesh, Buddhist, agnostic, a tantric fleck mixed with rain and the still ponds of the Tao Te Ching. Born as I've been, screaming and weeping to leave the woman's dark and emerge in sterilized hospital light. Born, broken, yet whole, each time, time and again. Jack Huntley and Ivan James go rabbit hunting with their dogs, based on a photograph of 5 men and 4 hounds, rabbit hunting in the snow, Michigan, 1950. They have a dog. Their dogs have 4 legs. 4 dogs, 4 legs, 16 candles on a birthday cake could be a way to say almost adult. Strange, this almost. Like 5 men with 4 dogs. Like 5 men named in the photo's description, only Jack Huntley and Ivan James. Are there 2 Jack Huntleys and 3 Ivan Jameses? 4 Jameses and 1 Jack? I have 5 fingers on each hand, 4 really and a thumb. I use the thumb for all kinds of things, from tying my shoes, to hitching a ride, to balancing a cup of tea I guide to my mouth, which very mysteriously guides the tea to the necessary parts of my brain. Strange, this brain, almost and almost. Almost smart, almost cold, still very dumb, child numb, still very much alive, but moving toward the inevitable end. I hope it doesn't come soon. I'd like time to be with friends, John, Ray, Sam, Tasha, Michelle. I'd like time to meet a man or two like Jack Huntley and Ivan James. Maybe go hunting together, though I'd likely dart ahead of the dogs and tell the rabbits who and what we intend. Maybe be a dog, a beagle hound sniffing out the many aspects of death lying in the Michigan snow. I always wanted to know what it felt like to have snow inside, as if my body cooled the November rain whipping in from Lake Superior, as if my breath could warm the dark spots of an inland sea or the frozen breaches of the north. I've always wanted to know what it felt like to scour the ground and sniff ahead for death, as if I wasn't headed there myself, but was only here to wag and scent and howl and maybe even bring back the bloody thing in my mouth. What would it taste like? How might my forelegs respond to its forelegs, flopping around as it made strange burbling sounds in my mouth? Strange, this brain, in all it can imagine, how the missing, the skipped can make me trot ahead decades beyond this 1950 photo and consider who the other 3 hunters might be, or why Jack and Ivan brought along 3 extra men when they only had 4 dogs between them. What was missing in their lives for them to make so visible the gaps of faulty math? I have a dog. She has 4 legs. I have 2, and Mary Ann has 2. When we walk in a field of snow with our hound, our 4 legs match hers. These are the things that don't add up, even when they do, that lay me awake in the below cold, even when I struggle to decide in the dark if I lay or lie. Strange, this brain, almost smart, almost old, thinking itself almost whole, even those days when it knows 5 men went out with 4 dogs to look for what was missing, for what was perhaps trembling in some hutch or other in the snow. Today again, with an epigraph by Tom Hainan. For the first time, I understand I'm an animal too. Folded into an ancient Chinese poem, tucked inside a flake of night, I realize I am fully part hound dog. Snow is falling. Snow keeps falling. Snow and snow and snow covers the tracks of rabbit slash I long to hold through the woods and the woods night. As if it was the 8th century Tang dynasty, and I had my life to live over again, centuries forward from then, which would be now, but today, again, and better than the way I lived it hours ago, before realizing I am part hound dog, fully folded into these fields of pine boughs and weight, woods and snow.
I realize I am. Tucked inside. Folded. Tucked inside. Woods and to live over again. Better. Wait. Pine boughs and wait.
Snow is falling.
Snow.
Snow keeps falling.
Falling.
As if it was the 8th century.
From then. Centuries forward. Now. Forward.
Today again.
I am.
Snow and snow and snow. I long to hold the woods and the woods night.
Pine boughs and wait.
I long to hold the woods
Tucked inside.
and the woods night.
Tucked inside. Tucked inside. Centuries ago.
I had my life.
To live over again. To live over again. Then over again.
I had my life,
From then. Now.
which would be now.
Rabbit trap. Rabbit trap. Rabbit slash. Rabbit slash.
Rabbit slash. Snow and snow and snow.
Snow.
Through the woods night.
Woods.
Through the woods night.
Woods.
And better than the way I lived it.
I lived it. Better. From then. Till now. From then.
Through the woods. Through the woods.
Better than before. I am part Hound-Dog. Fully part.
As if it was the 8th century.
I lived it. Now. Centuries forward. Ancient.
Forward. Centuries forward. Which would be now.
Now.
Better than the way. Which would be now. Better than the way.
I lived it.
I lived it.
Better than the way I lived it.
I am part hound dog.
Falling.
I am part hound dog. I am part hound dog.
Fully part Hound-Dog. Snow. I realize I am.
What my hound dog is scenting through the slough grass is a way of scenting me. You say the beagle hound is who I am. I could count to 10 and still not achieve my ideal psychic weight. Solace, sorrow. Say I am a reincarnation, whisked from her waffling as she makes game, torn from the tongue-toughened wing of a lunacough, culled from great migrations of the moon. I could and would and just might. My hound dog's long ears keep plowing the dark's dark. The way a butterfly's brief light recalls lightning bugs from childhood, gathering evening woods into an Indiana inside me. You say the hound dog is who I am. Yes, no. How can this be when all I ever wanted was to merge with broom sedge, with brome? There are honeybees still in Whitman's beard, and all my years of Thoreau sorrow woods that should have healed by now, the swampy dark of my heart. I love the way love can love, the act of loving. And it's my torn parts the hound scents down deep in the moon-drenched swamps, where even the owls have drowned, where I can count myself lucky among years of shagbark, hickory, and elm, sycamore, and oak. My intractable insides, dark and right, her waffling self taking in the ground. Two fish above the door, or the day Tao Chen visited me in a dream. There are two fish above the door, swimming around inside me. There are two fish above the door, swimming around inside me. When I think brain, I say brain. When I breathe heart, I chant gold carp singeing the singing gutters of the throat. There are two fish above the door. Two fish above the door. Singing and singeing are two words as close to fire as you can get. Singing and singeing are two words as close to fire, as close to fire as you can get. Yes, my mother left the body, which was cremated in June. Yes, my mother left the body, which was cremated in June. Yes, my brother's eldest and his wife recently had a baby boy from out of the volcanic lapses of the womb. Most doors, except those in dreams, have an inside and a further inside. Most doors, except those in dreams, have an inside and a further inside. When I smell the coat of my beagle hound, musky rich from rain, I smell the damp of my beagle as well as that of all the stray hounds, blue ticks, red bones, treeing walkers, roaming the roads without mothers. When I read the poems of the hermit Tao Chen, when I read the poems of the hermit Tao Chen, I scale the pines and walk the wind with him 125 times a minute. When I read the poems of Tao Chen, 125 times a minute. There are two fish above the door. Two fish above the door, swimming around inside me. There is this, and there is this. There is an outside only when we are not moving further and further in. There is an outside only when we are not moving further and further in. There are moments of pain, so real. Moments of pain, so real. We live our lives. The Mother Door of Forgiveness, based on 2 photographs of Ben Lilly, the last of the true mountain men, and his hounds, circa 1917 and 1920, with an epigraph by Jim Kelgard, "A hound's face always looks mournful." Sad is all I can say. The hounds look sad. Jack, Crook, Tip, and Queen. They hunted the mountain lion for their man, and all their joy afterwards flooded out into him, lengthening his beard an inch or 2 more down his mountain man chest. What are they thinking, staring up at the carcass of what was once an angry god? How do they feel now that the power's gone out? The lion stretched on a pole before them, claw to claw, tongue to tail, as if trapped mid-stride, streaming out into the universe. The roar, quiet as a single cactus beckoning the rain for a desert bloom. If the dogs could, they'd ask for fig leaves, storm forth from the garden of houndly delight, bowed and begging. Shame, shame on Ben Lilly, standing there proud. This is El Paso or Chihuahua, or maybe an unnamed ranch west of Chloride, New Mexico. Some speck as indistinct on a map as an unwept tear in a cup. I want to cut it down, bury the cat by not burying it, placing it in a night tree, a branch of bur oak, offering its bones as a flute to the wind dead, as milk back to the chalky moon, its hide as medicine wrap, big medicine. I want to hug the hounds tightly, saying, I too have regret. Only so much of me has done the world any good. Of my 63 years, I'd say it was a month or 2 at most, and of those days, I gave mostly just a kind word, often unheard. You were asked to kill, and you killed too well, your long ears swaying as if the wind were the released breath of a world sighing, good night. Good night, Ben, and your 30-30 Winchester and Green River skinning knife. Good night, lion ears, having to endure all that howling for days and days on your track. Good night, cliff ledge, where finally the cornered cat's last step was final as the thud that broke its back. Good night, Jack. Good night, Crook. Good night, Tip and Queen. You were thrown by a long line of amorous sires, not knowing one day you'd be thrust into your own sad hearts. You came through the mother door of female forgiveness that suckled you and ate your pup poop and licked all the starlight of womb water off of you when you dropped from eternity among us into the 4 corners of the whelping box, the corners of one world hunting another, keeping you with us here, close to our grief and regret, where each day of the hunt your joy bursts forth, fractures, your sadness blooms as you mourn the dead thing in front of you again and again. Somebody has to take care of the dead. A blessing for each of the dogs in the poems and photographs. The dogs we seek, and in seeking realize the hounds seek us. Somebody has to take care of the dead. Someone, something, somehow. It is so, has always been so. In every language of the world, from hound dogs blistering the moon and the Shenandoah Valley to griffin vultures disenchanting entrails of a Cape buffalo in Mozambique. Somehow, something is someone or other, some hound scent as song, some ways of mouth we more or less. Paw print of a Rhodesian ridgeback in the chest of the man on fire could be me from incarnations before, when paramecia parted ways with water. Weaver ants, hunters who prey, fossils found in Tanzania, washing up in the Wabash. The line blurs, worlds that were, grows long when Whitman guides the eye through the ear of a camel that passeth athrough. Something, somehow, is someone inside enzymes or other, in the coonhound's snout in the snow to which Christmas belongs, neutralizing acids, the snow, the salt inside, shovels full of pain, the back parts of the brain remembering what it was like these journeys long of fur, commanded to stir the ground with hound silk and ear. Some ground or other, some hound sent and found in the sending of it. The dead, dying, decried. Someone, somebody has to care for the dead. All the dogs of loss in the photos speak. Oh, brother, my sister, I was once alive. Repeat the culling of the bees back from Hickoryhurt and Sassafras Hollow, shade of parent trees that stunt the growth of their young and plant a buzzing in the hive. Somebody has to care of somehow someone. The dogs fallen face first into moss, in the missing, the skipped, in wood cure and smoke. In every angle of the world, there is this and that, self and smother. The way commas and periods crowd out sound, holding down the gravelly growth of bees. One size kills all, more or less. The 2-day period when the white-backed vultures savanna the herds, and light glitters upward where the bird hears wormwood as warm. We worm the dogs. We settle their mouths. Even now they are stiff from decades of graves. How can I ever convince my mouth to ever conceive gentle lovemaking of what's been bled? Tongue stuck luck, kingdom of throat-hatched thatch, I would of it and will, and giveth every stunt of my tongue. The dead, crying, denied, all the years they could have been but weren't. God, I love them all more than I might speak. Love them full in the many moists of mouth. Bring them forth again from rabbit track, puppy blur operations of the artificial heart. We thought to give them so they might die into us a life. Rifle shot, pheasant stir, presidents calm by their lap scratch near a window on a plane. Someone, somehow, has to die for them, if it only be words that dissolve unto their throat. Somebody has to caretake the dead, fly full-bellied with birds that eat bacteria that otherwise might sound unsafe into us. In the simple of black and white, each photograph of a life gone dead, of a black gone sight, of a black and wild world that somehow something could. In Moon Both the Shenandoah and Hound Howl the Wabash, someone please somehow in every jangle of the word, in every angle of the world, the dead must take care of somebody. Thinking of Bill Porter's Finding Them Gone, I wonder, how can it be that a long life for a dog is equivalent to the depth in feet of a swamp-sinking moon? Each of the old Chinese poets has several graves. Some hold clothes, some bone, still others contain traces of evaporated sweat from their brow. It is true that I have never buried a hound dog. Still, I sleep with some of Barney's ash at my side. Also on the nightstand are specks of breath left from winter frost. How can it be that a long life for a dog is equivalent to the depth in feet of a swamp sinking moon. Something is always eluding my reach, just out of breath, as if what is leaving is trying to descend a mountain that won't quit the moon. The proliferation of graves, he said, was intended to confound grave robbers. Okay, what if a hound dog gets confused by its own death? I think of all the moments they are as present as wind leaving a tree. Here today, gone today, if every moment is now. How can I possibly be older than Du Fu, who sailed up the Milo toward Pingchang, but left the body not quite halfway there? He complained of illness and white hair, but it was the loneliness of exile that killed him. What if we take to the road, but never leave the moon warming our throat? What if hound dogs depart each night into backwoods sound and grief, the proliferating screech of barred owls on the fence, the smell of ourselves in the night, bringing with it the scent of the dark's dark? George Harrison, like Du Fu, left the body at 58, and Yogananda at 59. They all held so many more universes than I could possibly speak. At 60, I figure the gathering of years is intended to confound our breath into thinking it can wed the wind when the leaves fall. My point is only to get myself not to weep while eating a plum and thinking of Wang Wei alone by the fire. He had his lute. I have my dog, even the one no longer in the body, but whose ash we placed by 17 trees she loved on the road west. That's all I wanted to say. How we leave, even when we stay. How parts of ourselves populate the paths like 6 or 7 graves for Du Fu, and some saliva and a bit of sweat he left here, then there, all those years he wandered. How when we open the door and the dog goes out into steaming night smoke rain, parts of us come in.